Lisa Martinez stared at her reflection in the bathroom mirror, trying to gather courage for what was ahead. 3 years had passed since the car accident that changed everything. 3 years since she had lost the use of her legs. 3 years of learning to live in a wheelchair, fighting every day to prove she was still the same person inside. Her husband Jake stood behind her, gently brushing her long dark hair. "You don't have to go," he said softly. "We can make up an excuse. Say, I got sick or something came up with work." Lisa shook her head. "My mom will never forgive me if I miss another family reunion. She already thinks I'm using my disability to avoid family events." Jake's jaw tightened. He had heard enough stories about Lisa's family to know they were not kind people. Before the accident, they had barely accepted him as Lisa's boyfriend, then husband. They thought he was just some computer guy who worked from home. They had no idea that his small tech company had grown into a billion-dollar empire. Jake preferred it that way. He had seen what money did to families and relationships. He wanted people to like him for who he was, not what he had. "I still think we should tell them the truth about the business," Jake said, placing his hands on her shoulders. "Maybe if they knew." "Knew what? That you're rich?" Lisa laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Jake, these people made fun of me when I was perfectly healthy. When I got good grades, they said I was showing off. When I got into college, they said I thought I was better than them. Money won't change how they see me. It will just give them more reasons to hate me." Jake knew she was right, but it still bothered him. He had worked hard to build his company, not for the money, but because he loved creating things that helped people. His software was used in hospitals and schools around the world. He had more money than he could spend in 10 lifetimes, but he lived in a normal house and drove a normal car. The only people who knew about his wealth were his lawyers, accountants, and business partners. Lisa had found out by accident 2 years into their marriage. She had seen some papers on his desk and asked questions. Even then, Jake had downplayed it, telling her they were comfortable, but not explaining just how comfortable they really were. It wasn't until after her accident, when the medical bills started coming in, that she learned the truth. Jake had paid for everything without blinking. The best doctors, the best treatments, the best wheelchair modifications to their house. Money was never mentioned as a problem. "The plane is ready whenever you want to leave," Jake said. "And if you change your mind at any point, just call me. I'll be there in 4 hours." Lisa nodded. Jake had important meetings in Japan that he couldn't miss. His company was launching a new product that could help disabled children use computers more easily. It was something he had started working on after her accident, though he never told her that. The flight to Texas was smooth, but Lisa's stomach was full of knots. She remembered the last time she had seen most of her family. It was at Christmas, 6 months after the accident. Her sister Amy had made comments about how Lisa was lucky to have a husband who didn't run away when things got hard. Her brother Tony had asked loudly if wheelchair ramps were expensive, saying he hoped the family wouldn't have to pay for special things just for one person. Her cousin Maria had been the worst. She had actually asked Lisa if she could still do wife things for Jake, making it clear what she meant. Lisa had left that gathering in tears, and Jake had been furious when she told him what happened. The taxi from the airport took her to her childhood home, a small house on the outskirts of Dallas. Cars were already parked all over the street and in the yard. Lisa could hear voices and laughter coming from the backyard. For a moment, she sat in the taxi wanting to tell the driver to take her back to the airport, but she had promised her mother she would come. Carmen Martinez had been crying on the phone, saying the family was falling apart and Lisa was the only one who could bring everyone together. Lisa didn't understand why that responsibility fell on her, especially since she was usually the target of family jokes and criticism. She paid the taxi driver and got her wheelchair out of the trunk. The house had steps up to the front door, but there was a ramp on the side that led to the kitchen. Jake had paid to have it built the year before, though the family didn't know that. They thought Lisa had gotten some kind of government help. As she wheeled up the ramp, she could hear her Aunt Helen's voice through the screen door. "I just think it's selfish, making everyone change their plans and spend money on ramps and special bathrooms just for one person. In my day, people with problems like that stayed home where they belonged. Lisa's face burned with shame and anger. She hadn't even made it inside yet, and they were already talking about her like she was a burden. "She's family, Helen," her mother's voice replied, but it sounded tired and weak. "Family doesn't make everyone else suffer for their problems," Helen shot back. Lisa took a deep breath and knocked on the screen door. The voices inside went quiet. "Lisa, you made it." Her mother opened the door with a big smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. Carmen Martinez looked older than her 55 years, and Lisa could see the stress lines around her eyes. "Hi, Mom." Lisa hugged her mother from her wheelchair. "Everyone's out back. They're so excited to see you." Carmen's voice was too bright, too cheerful. Lisa knew that tone. It meant her mother was trying to keep peace in the family, which usually meant Lisa would have to put up with whatever anyone wanted to say or do to her. As they moved through the house toward the backyard, Lisa saw her reflection in the hallway mirror. She looked small in her wheelchair, smaller than she felt most days. At home with Jake, she felt strong and capable. Here, she felt like the damaged little sister everyone had to take care of. The backyard was full of people. Kids ran around playing games while adults sat at picnic tables eating and talking. When Lisa appeared, conversation stopped. People stared at her wheelchair like they had never seen one before, even though this wasn't her first family gathering since the accident. "Look who decided to show up," her sister Amy called out loudly. "Hope you didn't need too much special help getting here." Lisa forced a smile. It was going to be a long weekend. Lisa wheeled herself to an empty spot at one of the picnic tables, trying to ignore the stares. Her cousin Steve was the first to speak up, not bothering to lower his voice. "Wow, Lisa. That's some fancy wheelchair you got there. Must have cost a fortune. Good thing your husband has a job, right?" He laughed and nudged his wife Maria, who giggled behind her hand. "It's just a regular wheelchair," Lisa said quietly, though she knew it wasn't true. Jake had bought her the best one money. Could buy lightweight and easy to move with special cushions and supports. She had tried to tell him a cheaper one would be fine, but he wouldn't hear it. "Regular?" Amy walked over and examined the wheelchair like she was shopping for a car. "This thing has more gadgets than my car. Look at all these buttons and adjustments. Someone's living pretty good on disability money." Lisa felt her face get hot. "I don't get disability money. Jake and I both work." "Right," Tony said, joining the group around her wheelchair. "What kind of work can you do now? I mean, be honest. You can't exactly wait tables or stand behind a counter anymore." "I do computer work from home," Lisa explained. "Data entry, bookkeeping, things like that. Oh, busy work. Stuff people give you to make you feel useful." Amy patted Lisa's shoulder in a way that felt mean rather than kind. "That's sweet of Jake to set that up for you." Lisa wanted to explain that her work was real, that companies actually paid her good money for her skills, but she knew they wouldn't believe her. They had made up their minds about what her life was like. Her teenage nephew Rick appeared with his phone out, pointing it at her. "Hey, Aunt Lisa. Smile for Instagram. I'm doing a story about our family reunion." "Rick, put that away," Lisa said, turning her face away from the camera. "Come on, don't be shy. My friends think it's cool that I have a disabled aunt. They want to see what you look like." Rick kept filming even as Lisa tried to block the camera with her hand. "Rick, stop it," Carmen called from across the yard, but her voice was weak and Rick ignored her. "Just one video, Aunt Lisa. Show them how the wheelchair works. Do you have to charge it like a car?" "It's not electric," Lisa said, getting frustrated. "And I said no filming." "Geez, relax. It's just for fun." Rick finally put his phone away, but Lisa could see him texting someone, probably sending pictures he had already taken. Lunch was served buffet style, with all the food laid out on a long table. Lisa waited for the crowd to thin out before trying to get her food. The table was too high for her to reach comfortably from her wheelchair, and some of the dishes were pushed toward the back. She stretched to reach a bowl of potato salad, her wheelchair shifting slightly as she leaned forward. Her cousin Steve was watching and started laughing. "Need some help there, Shorty?" He made no move to actually help, just stood there with his arms crossed, smirking. "I can get it," Lisa said, stretching further. Her fingers just touched the edge of the bowl. "This is painful to watch," Amy said, walking over. But instead of helping, she moved the bowl even further back on the table. "Oops, sorry. Didn't see you there." Lisa's face burned with embarrassment. Other family members were starting to watch now, some looking uncomfortable, but nobody stepping in to help. Finally, her mother came over and moved the bowl closer, but not before Lisa had been struggling for several long minutes while everyone watched. "There you go, honey," Carmen said softly, but Lisa could hear the pity in her voice. After lunch, the family started organizing games and activities. There was going to be a volleyball game, a three-legged race, and other competitions. Lisa watched from her spot at the picnic table, knowing she couldn't participate in any of them. "Hey, Lisa," Tony called out, "want to be the scorekeeper? Since you can't actually play?" "We could set up a special game for you," Amy added with fake sweetness. "Maybe rolling races or something?" "I'm fine just watching," Lisa said, wishing Jake was there. When they were together, she felt normal. Here, every word reminded her of everything she couldn't do anymore. The volleyball game started, and Lisa tried to focus on a book she had brought, but the comments kept coming. Good thing Lisa doesn't have to worry about keeping in shape anymore. She heard Helen say to another aunt, "I wonder if she even tries to exercise. Probably just sits around all day feeling sorry for herself. Jake must be a saint to stay with her. Most men would have been gone by now." Each comment felt like a slap. Lisa kept her eyes on her book, but the words on the page blurred as tears threatened to come. When the volleyball game ended, some of the younger family members decided to play a game of tag. As they ran around the yard, one of them bumped into Lisa's wheelchair, making it roll backward suddenly. "Sorry," the kid called out but kept running. "Watch it," Amy yelled. "We have to be careful around the wheelchair now. One bump and she goes flying." "Maybe we should set up some cones or something," Steve joked, "like a construction zone, or get one of those beeping sounds trucks have. When they back up," Tony added, making beeping noises. Several people laughed. Lisa had heard enough. She started to wheel herself toward the house, needing a break from the constant comments and stares. "Where are you going?" her mother asked, looking worried. "Just inside for a minute. I need to use the bathroom." "Do you need help?" Carmen asked, which only made Lisa feel worse. "I can manage," Lisa said firmly. As she wheeled up the ramp into the house, she heard Amy talking behind her. "She's so sensitive about everything now. You can't say anything without her getting upset. It's like walking on eggshells." "Well, what do you expect?" Helen replied. "Her whole life changed. She probably thought she'd never have to deal with reality. And now look at her. I just think she needs to accept her situation and stop trying to pretend everything's normal," Maria added. "It's actually kind of sad to watch." Lisa made it to the bathroom and locked the door behind her. She sat there for a long time, crying, quietly and wishing she had never come. She pulled out her phone to call Jake, but remembered he was in important meetings halfway around the world. She would have to get through this weekend on her own. But she was starting to wonder if she was strong enough to handle 2 more days of this treatment from the people who were supposed to be her family. Lisa stayed in the bathroom for almost 20 minutes trying to calm down and wipe away her tears. She looked at herself in the mirror and practiced smiling, hoping no one would notice she had been crying. When she finally came out, the family was getting ready for the evening barbecue. "There she is," Amy said loudly. "We were starting to think you fell in." A few people laughed and Lisa forced herself to smile. "Just needed a few minutes to myself." "Well, come on. Dad's starting the grill, and we're all going to eat outside again. Hope you can find a good spot for your wheelchair." The backyard was getting more crowded as relatives who hadn't been there for lunch started arriving. Lisa recognized most of them, but some she hadn't seen in years. They all stared at her wheelchair with curious looks, and she could hear whispered conversations about her accident. Her Uncle Bob came over and shook her hand. "Lisa, good to see you. Sorry about all the, you know." He gestured vaguely at her wheelchair. "Life throws curveballs sometimes." "Thank you, Uncle Bob. It's good to see you too." "Your husband couldn't make it?" "He's traveling for work. He wanted to be here." "That's too bad. Probably would have been nice to have some support. Bob looked around at the other family members. This crowd can be a little much sometimes. Lisa was surprised by his kindness. Maybe not everyone in her family was going to be cruel. As the evening went on, Lisa found a quiet corner of the yard where she could watch everyone without being the center of attention. She tried calling Jake, but it went straight to voicemail. The time difference meant he was probably in meetings or sleeping. She left a message anyway. "Hi, it's me. Just wanted to hear your voice. Things are, well, they're about what we expected. I miss you. Call me when you can." "Who are you talking to?" Rick appeared next to her with his phone out again. "My husband. And I asked you to stop filming me." "Relax, I'm not filming. I'm just texting." But Lisa could see the camera app was open on his screen. "Rick, seriously, put the phone away." "Fine, whatever, you're no fun anymore." He walked away, but Lisa saw him showing his screen to some of the other teenagers. They all looked at her and started laughing. The sun was starting to set, and people were settling into groups around the yard. Lisa was feeling tired and overwhelmed. She decided to wheel herself to an even quieter spot near some trees at the edge of the property, where she could have some peace. She found a nice spot under a big oak tree and sat there enjoying the quiet. She could still hear the family talking and laughing, but it was far enough away that she couldn't make out the words. For the first time all day, she felt like she could breathe. She was looking at photos of her and Jake on her phone when she heard footsteps behind her. She turned to see Amy, Tony, Steve, and Maria walking toward her. Their faces looked serious, and Lisa felt a chill of worry. "There you are," Amy said. "We've been looking for you." "I just wanted some quiet time," Lisa said. "Is everything okay?" "That's what we want to talk to you about," Tony said, crossing his arms. "We've been discussing your situation." "My situation?" "The way you've been acting," Maria jumped in. "All day you've been sitting by yourself looking sad, making everyone uncomfortable." Lisa stared at them. "I haven't been making anyone uncomfortable. I've been trying to stay out of the way." "See? That's exactly what we're talking about," Amy said. "This whole victim act. Poor Lisa in her wheelchair. Everyone has to feel sorry for her." "I'm not acting like a victim. I'm just trying to get through this weekend." "That's the problem," Steve said. "You think you're just getting through being with your family, like we're some kind of burden to you." Lisa couldn't believe what she was hearing. "You've been making jokes about me all day, calling me names, filming me without permission, making me feel terrible about myself. And I'm the problem?" "We're trying to help you face reality," Tony said. "You can't just expect everyone to treat you like you're normal when you're not." "I am normal. I'm the same person I always was." "No, you're not," Amy said firmly. "And the sooner you accept that, the better off everyone will be." "We think you need a lesson," Maria added with a mean smile. Lisa felt her heart start beating faster. Something was very wrong here. "What kind of lesson?" Instead of answering, Tony walked behind her wheelchair. Before Lisa could react, he started, pushing her deeper into the trees, away from the house and the other family members. "Stop. What are you doing?" Lisa tried to grab the wheels to stop the chair, but Tony was stronger than her. "Teaching you about reality," Amy said, following alongside them. They stopped at a large tree about 50 yards from the house. Lisa could barely see the lights from the backyard through the branches. She could hear the family talking and laughing, but they seemed very far away. "Let me go back," Lisa said, her voice shaking. "This isn't funny." "It's not supposed to be funny," Steve said. He had something in his hands that Lisa couldn't see clearly in the growing darkness. "It's rope," Maria said, noticing Lisa looking. "We brought rope." Lisa's blood went cold. "What are you planning to do with that?" "We're going to show you what helpless really looks like," Amy said. "You spend all your time pretending you're independent, that you can take care of yourself, but we all know the truth. The truth is that you're completely dependent on other people," Tony added. "Your husband, your family, everyone has to make special plans for you." Before Lisa could scream, Steve stuffed a bandana in her mouth. She tried to fight, but with 4 people against her and her limited mobility, She couldn't stop them from tying her wheelchair to the tree with the rope. They wrapped it around the wheels, the frame, and the tree trunk. Lisa pulled and struggled, but the wheelchair wouldn't move. She was completely stuck. "There," Amy said, stepping back to admire their work. "Now you can see what your life really is. You can't go anywhere. You can't do anything. You're completely helpless. This is what we all see when we look at you," Maria added. "Someone who can't take care of herself and expects everyone else to fix her problems." Lisa tried to scream through the bandana, but only muffled sounds came out. She pulled at the ropes, but they were too tight and too well tied. "Don't worry, we're not going to leave you here all night," Tony said. "Just long enough for you to understand your place." "Maybe an hour or two," Steve added with a laugh. "Give you some time to think about how much you really need other people. When we come back, we want you to apologize," Amy said. "Apologize for making this whole weekend about you and your problems. And promise to stop acting like you're the same as everyone else," Maria finished. They started walking back toward the house, leaving Lisa tied to the tree in the dark. She could hear their laughter getting fainter as they got further away. Lisa had never felt so scared and alone in her life. She pulled at the ropes until her hands were raw, but nothing loosened. She tried to scream, but the bandana muffled most of the sound, and the family was too far away and making too much noise to hear her anyway. She thought about Jake, wishing desperately that he was here, but he was thousands of miles away and had no idea what was happening to her. As tears ran down her face, Lisa realized that her own family had just shown her a cruelty she never imagined possible. Lisa had been tied to the tree for what felt like hours, though it was probably only 30 minutes. Her wrists hurt from pulling at the ropes, and her throat was dry from trying to scream through the bandana. The family's laughter from the backyard seemed to mock her helplessness. She closed her eyes and tried to stay calm, thinking about Jake. He would be so angry if he knew what was happening. But he was in Japan, probably sleeping or in another meeting. There was no way for him to know she needed help. Just as Lisa was starting to lose hope, she heard something that made her heart skip. Car engines. Not just one car, but several, and they sounded expensive. The engines were quiet and smooth, nothing like the old trucks and beat-up cars her family usually drove. The sound got closer, and Lisa could see headlights through the trees. Multiple sets of headlights all moving together like they were part of a group. She heard car doors slamming and then voices she didn't recognize. "Sir, the house is just ahead. Should we announce your arrival?" "No, let me see what's going on first." Lisa's eyes went wide. That second voice was Jake's. But how was that possible? He was supposed to be halfway around the world. She tried to scream his name through the bandana, making as much noise as she could. The voices stopped talking. "Did you hear that?" Jake's voice again, closer now. "Sounded like it came from the trees, sir." Lisa heard footsteps moving in her direction. She kept making noise, hoping desperately that Jake would find her. "Lisa?" Jake's voice was much closer now. "Lisa, where are you?" She screamed his name through the bandana as loudly as she could. "Over here!" Jake shouted to the other people with him. "Bring the flashlights!" Suddenly, bright lights cut through the darkness, and Lisa saw Jake running toward her. Behind him were 3 men in dark suits who looked like security guards. One of them was carrying a powerful flashlight, and another had what looked like a small camera. "Oh my God," Jake breathed when he saw her tied to the tree. His face went from worried to furious in an instant. "What did they do to you?" He immediately started working on the ropes while one of the security men helped. The third man was taking pictures of everything with his camera. "Document all of this," Jake said in a voice Lisa had never heard before. It was cold and dangerous. "Every rope, every knot, everything." "Yes, sir," the man with the camera replied. Jake pulled the bandana out of Lisa's mouth and she gasped for air. "Jake, how are you here? You're supposed to be in Japan." "I was, but something felt wrong when you called earlier. Your voice sounded scared." "I caught the first flight out." He finished untying the last rope and immediately checked her wrists and arms for injuries. "Did they hurt you? Are you okay?" "I'm okay now that you're here. But Jake, my family, they did this to me." My own sister and brother. Jake's jaw tightened. I know. We heard them talking when we walked up to the house. They were laughing about leaving you out here to learn your lesson. Sir? One of the security men said quietly. We should call the police now. Already done, Jake replied. They should be here in 10 minutes. Lisa stared at him. Police? Jake, what's going on? Who are these men? They work for me, Lisa, security and legal people. I should have told you before, but I never travel anywhere without protection now. Protection? Jake, what aren't you telling me? Before Jake could answer, they heard voices coming from the direction of the house. Amy, Tony, and the others were walking back toward the trees, probably coming to check on Lisa. Well. Amy's voice carried through the darkness. Looks like someone came to rescue the helpless little princess. They appeared in the glow of the flashlights, and Lisa saw their faces change when they realized Jake wasn't alone. The three men in suits looked serious and professional, nothing like the family members they were used to dealing with. Jake? Tony said uncertainly. When did you get back? About 20 minutes ago, Jake said, standing up from beside Lisa's wheelchair. His voice was deadly calm. Just in time to find my wife tied to a tree by her own family. Oh, come on. Amy laughed nervously. It was just a prank. We were coming back to untie her. A prank? One of Jake's security men stepped forward. You tied up a disabled woman and left her alone in the dark. That's called assault. Who are you? Steve demanded, trying to sound tough but clearly nervous about the professional-looking men. I'm Mr. Williams, head of security, the man replied. And you're all in serious trouble. Security? Maria laughed, but it sounded forced. Jake, what? Do you need security for? You fix computers. Jake looked at Lisa, and she nodded. It was time for the truth. I don't just fix computers, Jake said quietly. I own Williams Tech Solutions, maybe you've heard of it. The family members looked confused for a moment. Then Tony's face went pale. Williams Tech? Isn't that the company that makes all those apps and programs? The one that's worth billions, Jake finished. Yes. The silence that followed was deafening. Lisa could see her family trying to process this information. Their eyes went from Jake to the expensive cars parked nearby, to the security men, and back to Jake. You're a billionaire? Amy whispered. I am. And you just assaulted my wife. We didn't know, Steve started to say. It wouldn't matter if I was broke. Jake cut him off. What you did was wrong no matter how much money I have. Sirens could be heard in the distance getting closer. The family looked panicked now. Jake, surely we can work this out, Carmen said, appearing from behind the group. She had been quiet until now, but Lisa could see the fear in her mother's eyes. Their family, it was just a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding. Jake's voice got louder. They tied my disabled wife to a tree and left her here helpless. They stuffed a bandana in her mouth so she couldn't call for help. What part of that is a misunderstanding? We were just trying to teach her, Tony began. Teach her what? That her family are criminals? Jake stepped closer to Tony, and the bigger man actually backed away. Because that's what you are now, criminals. The police cars pulled into the yard, their red and blue lights flashing through the trees. Lisa could see more cars arriving too, expensive black vehicles with tinted windows. Sir, your legal team is here, one of the security men reported into a small radio. Legal team? Amy's voice cracked. I don't travel anywhere without lawyers. Either, Jake said. Especially not when someone hurts my wife. As police officers walked toward them through the trees, Lisa realized that her family had made the biggest mistake of their lives. They had seen her as weak and helpless, someone they could bully and abuse without consequences. They had no idea that the quiet man she married had the power to destroy their lives completely. And from the look on Jake's face, that's exactly what he planned to do. The police officers took one look at the scene and immediately understood this was serious. Lisa was still sitting in her wheelchair with rope marks on her wrists, and pieces of cut rope were scattered around the tree. The security camera footage from Jake's team showed everything that had happened. Ma'am, are you injured? The lead officer asked Lisa gently. My wrists are sore from the ropes, but I'm okay now, Lisa replied, though she was still shaking. Jake's head lawyer, a sharp woman, in an expensive suit, was already talking to the officers and showing them photos and video evidence. She had arrived with a whole team of legal experts who were documenting everything. We have clear evidence of assault, unlawful restraint, and disability-based harassment, the lawyer explained to the police. Mr. Williams wants to press full charges. Amy tried to interrupt. Officer, this is all blown out of proportion. We're family. It was just a silly prank that went too far. The police officer looked at her seriously. Ma'am, tying someone to a tree against their will is not a prank. It's a crime. But she's fine, Tony protested. We weren't going to leave her there all night. How long were you planning to leave her? The officer asked. Just an hour or two, Steve mumbled, then realized how bad that sounded. Jake stepped forward. Officer, I want you to know that this wasn't an isolated incident. My wife has been dealing with harassment and abuse from these people for years. Tonight they just took it too far. We'll need statements from everyone, the officer said, and we'll need to take some of you down to the station. Lisa watched as handcuffs were put on Amy, Tony, Steve, and Maria. They looked shocked, like they couldn't believe this was really happening. Other family members stood around looking scared and confused. This is crazy, Amy shouted as she was led to a police car. Lisa, tell them it was just a joke. Lisa looked at her sister, the person who was supposed to love and protect her, and felt nothing but sadness. It wasn't a joke to me, Amy. It was terrifying. Rick, who had been filming earlier, tried to delete things from his phone, but Jake's security team had already made copies of everything. The videos he had taken of Lisa struggling would now be evidence in court. Carmen approached Lisa and Jake with tears in her eyes. Lisa, honey, I had no idea they were going to do something like this. I never would have allowed it. But you did allow all the other things, Lisa said quietly. All day long, they made fun of me, called me names, treated me like I was less than human, and you just watched. I thought it was just teasing, family joking around. That wasn't joking, Mom. That was cruelty. Jake put his hand on Lisa's shoulder. We're going home. Tonight. But the reunion isn't over, Carmen said weakly. It is for us, Jake replied firmly. 3 months later, Lisa sat in a courtroom watching as Amy and Tony were sentenced. The judge had not been kind to them. The video evidence, witness statements, and Lisa's testimony had painted a clear picture of what happened. This court finds the defendants guilty of assault and unlawful restraint, the judge announced. The fact that the victim is disabled makes this crime particularly serious. The defendants showed a shocking lack of empathy and basic human decency. Amy got 18 months in jail. Tony got 2 years. Steve and Maria got 1 year each. All of them would have to pay large fines and complete community service working with disabled individuals. Rick, who was still a minor, was sentenced to juvenile detention and mandatory counseling. His phone videos had actually made the case stronger for the prosecution, but the criminal charges were just the beginning. Jake's lawyers had also filed civil lawsuits against everyone involved. The family would have to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars in damages. Most of them would lose their homes and have to declare bankruptcy. I know it seems harsh, Jake told Lisa after the sentencing, but people need to understand that actions have consequences. Lisa nodded. She felt sad about what happened to her family, but she also felt free for the first time in years. She would never have to worry about their cruelty again. 6 months after the trial, Lisa graduated from law school. Jake had encouraged her to pursue her dream of becoming a lawyer, and she had thrown herself into her studies. She wanted to help other disabled people who face discrimination and abuse. I'm so proud of you, Jake said, hugging her after the graduation ceremony. You're going to help so many people. I couldn't have done it without you, Lisa replied. You believed in me when my own family didn't. Jake had used his money to create the Lisa Martinez Foundation, which provided legal help for disabled people and worked to change laws that discriminated against them. Lisa would run the foundation while also working as a lawyer. Their first big case was helping a disabled student who was being bullied at school. The school district had been ignoring the problem, but with Jake's resources and Lisa's legal skills, they were able to force changes that protected not just their client, but all disabled students in the district. "This is what I want to do with my life," Lisa told Jake one evening as they worked on foundation paperwork together. "Turn something terrible into something good." "You already have," Jake said, taking her hand. "You've turned me into a better person too." Lisa laughed. "How do you figure that?" "Before I met you, I just made money. I didn't think about using it to actually help people. You taught me that wealth means nothing if you don't use it to make the world better." They had moved to a new city where nobody knew about Lisa's family or what had happened at the reunion. Here, she was just Lisa Williams, successful lawyer and disability rights advocate. People respected her for her work and her intelligence, not pitied her for her wheelchair. The foundation grew quickly. Within 2 years, they had helped hundreds of disabled people fight discrimination. They had also pushed for new laws that made it easier for disabled people to get justice when they were mistreated. Lisa sometimes thought about her family. She had heard that Carmen was working 2 jobs to pay off the civil lawsuit. Amy and Tony had gotten out of jail but couldn't find good jobs because of their criminal records. The family reunion had been canceled permanently because too many people were dealing with legal and financial problems. She felt sorry for them, but she didn't regret what had happened. They had made their choices, and now they had to live with the results. "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if I hadn't come home early that night?" Jake asked one day. Lisa shuddered. "I try not to think about it, but I know they would have just kept getting worse. Bullies always do unless someone stops them." "Well, they're stopped now," Jake said. "And we're helping make sure other bullies get stopped too." Lisa smiled and looked around their foundation office, where a team of lawyers and advocates worked to help disabled people every day. On the wall was a photo from their wedding, and next to it was her law degree. She had turned the worst night of her life into a purpose that would help people for years to come. And she had done it with a man who loved her exactly as she was, wheelchair and all.